Okay, so I think this is where I tell my Daridam story. Where do I start? Okay, so there was these three villages. You had Marawara, Sangam, and Daridam, right? Our area of operation was in Marawara. We were building a district center in Marawara. We were supposed to be staying in Marawara, and this place was in the Kunar province, right, of Afghanistan, RC East operating zone, right? This area is known for being highly kinetic, meaning a lot of gunfire, a lot of shooting it out, a lot of harassing fire, a lot of heavy arms fire from Dishkas, PKMs, and then you got indirect. They used to have these mortar rounds on a water timer. So when the water would evaporate, the mortar round would shoot off. So, when we see the mortar round, we got to go investigate it afterwards, right? We got to go to where it is and see what's up. But most of the time, they would already be long gone, for days and days and days when they're using those water timers. Other times they would use IEDs, they would use command det or, control det through like two-way radios, phones, all kinds of stuff like that. And then they also had the pressure plate IEDs, which was really big in the Wardak province, but not so much in the Kunar, right? So anyways, we were supposed to go from Marawara to Sangam to Daridam and make that whole area green. So it was, Marawara was, when we got there, was it a green zone? Yeah, I would say so. I'd say so. And then Sangam, as soon as we went to the line on Sangam, right, we started getting hit. So I would say that area was a non-permissive to semi-permissive environment, right? Anyways, we got word came down that we were going to have to move to the Wardak province. And this is at like the 6-month mark. And this is happening fast. Like we're picking up, we're leaving the Kunar province and we're going to Wardak. So PL decided, or I don't know who decided really, because I was just a specialist at the time. But they decided that we're going to fast track this 12 months. And we're going to do it all like within the next few days, right? And of course everybody's like, I don't have a good feeling about this, because what we were doing was we were expanding the green zone in Marawara and doing presence patrols so that we could expand basically our bubble of comfortability, right? So the more presence you have, say you're taking harassing fire this far out, right? What you want to do is you just want to keep coming that far out. And then when they let up, you do more presence patrols, and then you go further out. That's called expanding the bubble, expanding the green zone. That's what we were trying to do. Well, fast forward, we got to do this like time now. So we start doing rehearsals, sand tables. If you don't know what sand tables are, it's really cool. It's when you take like a map and you make it 3D, or you'll plan out like your whole mission, right? And then you'll have different phase lines. So like say when you get to grid location Papa uniform 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, you have now entered phase line. And then they have different phase lines. Like sometimes they'll name them like all one thing, like phase line Viper, phase line Cobra. Then you got phase line Rattlesnake, or they might be colors: phase line red, phase line blue, phase line green, presidents, roads, whatever. In a sand table you make it 3D. So you use dirt, sand, MREs, water bottles, Dr. Peppers, anything you could think of. Soldiers get real creative because you're bored. You have cardboard cutouts of buildings, and like you're gonna raid this building and have little army men. So when you come and you brief people on the mission, they can see exactly what it's gonna look like. So anyways, we do the sand tables. Then we're doing rehearsals. This con-op, what was it called? I think it was called Operation Black Sheep Sweep 2 or Mountain Reach. I don't know. I'll look it up and then I'll drop it in here. But don't forget to like and subscribe while we're at it, while we're telling stories, right? So we're rehearsing, we're doing these rehearsals. We have the interpreter with us, right? Everybody's like, I don't get a good feeling about this. I don't want to do this. This doesn't sound like a good idea, because we're just skipping a whole entire area, right? We're just skipping a whole entire area and going straight to the red zone. Like that's where all the hottest Taliban fighters are. Like the real fighters are like back where we're going. Like Americans ain't been back there where we're about to go, right? So we're doing these rehearsals, got the interpreters with us. We got ANA, ANP with us. ANA is Afghan National Army. ANP is Afghan National Police. Alright, so we got all them with us. And then how we did it was we would have one of our trucks, like an MRAP or a Humvee, and then we'd have like an ANA Ranger, like just a regular ass Ford Ranger. And then we have another truck. That way, because we had that, I forget what it's called, but it surrounds the truck and it basically makes like a force field to where it jams IED signals, right? So we would overlap with the ANA vehicles and the ANP vehicles, so they would be within our bubble, right? I know somebody knows what that's called. Put it in the comments. I forgot. Like and subscribe as well. But anyways, so we're lined up like that, and we got like 8 vehicles. First squad's leading out. We always let out. So it's me, Ingledew, Buhite, Krupa. Drudge is on the vehicle. Guthrie was on R&R, right? He was the other saw gunner. I was a saw gunner, so I had the M249. So I had all my rounds, like 900 rounds on me. I had a pack in the truck with like 800 rounds in there. The other saw gunner, Guthrie, shout out Dave. Guthrie was he was on leave, so he had went home for like, I forget how long we used to get on R&R, but I knew his ammo was in there as well. So I literally got double the ammo I had before. So I know if shit pops off, I'm laying the scunion, baby. I'm fucking dumping that bitch, right? And that's part 1. Wait till part 2, and we're gonna get into the actual, like, the battle and everything, and I'll walk you guys all through it. We'll go through the battle damage assessment, all that. I'll show you on. It's gonna be nice. Don't forget, like, subscribe, wait for the next video. It's gonna be hot, it's gonna be real, it's gonna take a lot out of me, but I'm willing to share it with you guys. Yeah. Alright, so we're prepping, right? And I remember being like nervous as fuck, right? Like super nervous. And I was nervous because all the older cats, right? Like all those people that were like in the battle or whatnot, like, you know, Sergeant McKay, you know, all them. There's a lot of people who, Krupa, a lot of people who are like battle hardened already, you know what I'm saying? So I'm like nervous about how I'm going to perform. I hadn't got my CIB yet. They're like, yeah, you're definitely going to get your CIB. Like, this shit is happening, right? So for those that don't know, CIB is a combat infantryman's badge. It's pretty much like your rite of passage if you're an infantryman. Like, once you receive fire and return fire, you'll get your combat infantryman's badge. Now the rules change every now and then. I don't know if you can get it for indirect fire or not. Now, y'all let me know in the comments. And if you got your CIB, let me know how you got it. Anyways, what made me nervous is these guys with a lot of experience, right? So my squad leader at the time was Sergeant McKay. He had a lot of combat experience. Sergeant Ingledew had a lot of combat experience. Drudge had a lot of combat experience. I didn't have a lot of combat experience at the time, right? So we're waiting, and then I heard those guys say, hey, I'm kind of worried about this, right? So I think Sergeant McKay, Sergeant Cowell were in the rear back at the CCP. Me, Ingledew, Buhite, Krupa, Drudge, I think Holloway was on the gun on that truck. We were bleeding out. So we were in front of those MRAPs that I talked about on the last video, right? And we're looking for IEDs. So we're doing route clearance. Like I probably discussed on the other video, route clearance is where you're looking for any potential IEDs that may be planted. You're looking for ground that's disturbed. You're looking for trash. You're looking for mounds of rocks on the side of the road. Anything that just looks out of place, you're looking for it, right? So we would have one person in the middle on the road. Then we have 2 people skirting the road. If we had enough people, we'd have somebody farther out looking. You know, they'd be looking for like wires and things like that, right? So anyways, I got the saw, right? And I remember I'm walking and I got my saw and I got a fucking metal detector, bro. I got a metal detector looking for IEDs with a metal detector. Like, what the fuck's this gonna do? But I was told to walk with that shit. So as you know, in infantry, like, you're gonna get told to do some dumbass shit. And that was one of those dumbass shit. As soon as we got into it, I threw that bitch. Yeah, I threw that shit. Like, I'm not fucking carrying that shit around. Anyways, so I remember us being at the top of the hill, and you could see. I think it was in between Sangam and Daridam. Oh, that's making the camera zoom. It was in between Sangam and Daridam, right? And you could see all the women and all the children moving away the village. Like they were all coming towards us this way. I remember it like it was yesterday. And all the fighting age males were going this way, towards Daridam. So we're just sitting on the top of the hill, and we're just observing. Yeah, we're sitting at the top of the hill and we're just observing what's going on. Yeah, so I'm sitting at the top of this hill, right? And we're all smoking cigarettes, getting ready for this, this inevitable fight that's about to happen, right? And I remember looking at the top of this hill. There's like this mountain with all these terraces wrapped around the terraces, right? And I remember just seeing all the women and children on this mountain running in our direction, like running, sprinting. And all the fighting age males were running to where we were going. And they were all like dressed in black. They all had like wheelbarrows, duffel bags, all kinds of shit. You couldn't see what was in it, but they were moving that way. And all the women and children were moving this way. And I remember seeing a mother, she had her kid, right? She had one of her kids and she was holding that kid's hand. And that kid was holding another kid's hand. And that kid was holding another kid's hand. And that kid was holding another kid's hand. And they were all like from tallest to smallest. And she is literally just dragging these kids down the hill, trying to get out of there. Just dragging the kids down the hill. And I remember Sergeant Chilla and Sergeant Ingledew saying, "Hey, Ford, you remember in training when we talked about patterns of life, how things will just look different? Everything, you'll be like, that's not normal. That's not normal. That's not, like, you'll know." And I'm like, yeah. They're like, this is what we're talking about. I'm like, damn. And I just remember I took the biggest puff off that cigarette. And they're like, "You're gonna get your CIB today." No, everybody else agreed, like, yeah, it's happening. So we start walking, we're moving out. I got my saw, I'm sitting it on my nutsack pouches on my chest, just walking. And y'all can see it on the video, on that Survive Getting Blasted by a RPG. It's one of my shorts. You can see it, you can see the actual RPG. Anyways, you see me walking in the road. And then I got the metal detector like this, and I got my saw like this. Right? You got the metal detector for looking for the IDs. Anyways, we're walking. And I remember we came up to this really eerie, cryptic, it was a stone. It looked like an arrowhead, but it was a huge stone, and it must have been like 8 feet tall. I guess I gotta put my hand up for it to stop doing that. It must have been like 8 feet tall, right? And it looked like an arrowhead, like it had the dimple. And this arrowhead, everything about this arrowhead said, or this sign, or this, as I like to put it, like a warning, like an omen. Everything about this thing says, do not pass this point, right? Do not come past this rock or bad shit's gonna happen. So we pass the rock, and you're just looking. We're kind of inside a fishbowl at this point in time. This camera's getting on my nerves, man, with this. So we're kind of in like a fishbowl at this point in time, because you look to the left, like if I look to my 9 o'clock, I see just high ridge lines, very high ridge lines. I look to my 11 o'clock, very high ridge lines. I look to my 12 o'clock, that's the village we're going to. Behind that, high ridge lines. I look to my right, the 2 o'clock. We got scouts over there. My boy Quan and his platoon are doing Overwatch. Now, if anybody knows what Overwatch is, well, if you don't know what Overwatch is, I'm about to tell you. Overwatch. It's basically like scout platoon is going to be doing your recon. They're going to go out a day in advance, 2 days in advance, and observe patterns of life. Now, while we were rehearsing, scouts were probably already out there. Now they're on a hillside to like the 2 o'clock, the 2 o'clock. 3 o'clock, high ridge lines. 4 o'clock, that's just where we just came from, no ridge lines. That's back towards Fob Joyce, where we came from, right? But we're crossing Sangam, we're going to Daridam. I remember walking, and we have the interpreter next to us. His name was Nas, and we called him Nas because he liked listening to Nas. He liked rap music. We would all talk about religion on the way to our mission, and talk about rap music, talking about stupid shit like fucking, Katy Perry or something like that, right? Anyways, so we got this thing called the ICOM scanner. An ICOM scanner, it kind of looks like an M-bit or radio. It kind of looks like one of your FM handheld radios, right? And what it can do is it can pick up radio signals. So if they're up in the mountains, them being, the insurgents at the time, if they're up in the mountains, talking, communicating with each other, which they were, it's gonna pick that up. So you hear like, or whatever. They're talking into the They're two ways to each other at different fighting positions. The Taliban are now. Now we're walking up there with the trucks behind us, A&A behind us, A&P behind us. We're walking up that way. And then they say, hey, do you have the PKM set in place? Do you have the Dishka set in place? As soon as they get into the wadi, we're gonna hit them. That's what they said. I didn't hear it at the time. I just heard the talking, and then I heard Nas talking to Sergeant Ingledew. I said to Ingledew, I said, hey, Rich, what'd they say? He said, they said as soon as we get into the wadi, they're gonna open fire on us. And then I laughed. I'm like, they always say some shit like that, and they'll never be doing shit, right? Then we get in the wadi. Dude pops up. He's got an RPG-7. He pops up from a grass area at my 1 o'clock. And when he pops up from the grass, he shoots the RPG-7 straight at our direction. Now, when I'm looking at this RPG, right, and it's coming in our direction, I expected to get my CIB. I didn't expect it to open up with an RPG getting shot, like not towards me, at me. You know, I wasn't not prepared for that shit at all. That's not a bullet, you know what I'm saying? So I'm looking at this motherfucker coming, right? And I could see, and time slows down. They say I couldn't see that. I could see that shit. Time slowed down. And I'm seeing this motherfucker. I remember seeing like the trail of smoke, the dude behind it. And I remember seeing the RPG doing this little like spiral thing through the air. They go like, they don't just go straight, they go, you know. So it's doing that, and I'm looking at it, and I can see the fins on the back of this. I can see the fins on the back of the RPG sticking out like this, right? And the fins are made of metal. And I'm telling you, this metal was so hot, I could see it changing colors. You know when you stick like aluminum or something in a fire, and it changes from red to purple to blue? It was just changing colors. It was hypnotizing to me, right? I ain't gonna lie, I just froze, and I'm just watching this shit. And then I remember kind of turning like this, and it had rained the day before. So this is an aerial view, right? You got one of us, another one of us, another one of us, another one of us. So we're shaped like a kite. We're in a diamond shape. It had rained the day before. So in between this diamond shape was a long puddle. This puddle was like 10, 15 feet long. I don't know how deep it was. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. But the RPG goes in between us four, right? Lands in this puddle. It just lands in the puddle. Looking down. Not lands in the puddle. It hits the puddle, skips off the puddle. That's exactly how it sounded. As soon as it hit that puddle. And then it shot above the truck, shot above one of the trucks, and then bursted in the truck. And I think Harbaugh got that on helmet cam. He was wearing the helmet cam, so you can see the RPG. If you go watch that YouTube short, you can see the RPG. And then, you know, and I'm like, just kind of like, no lie, like kind of stunned about the situation, right? And then I hear Krupa, Forbes. And as soon as he said Forbes, all my training just kicked right back in. You know, went behind the truck, got for cover. I'm behind the tire in one of the Humvees. And when that RPG opened up, right? When I tell you when the RPG opened up, those motherfuckers opened up. They opened up. And you can't tell where it's coming from because, like, we're in a valley and, you know, there's mountains all around us. So it's just, the sounds are just echoing all up the valley, right? Or all up the mountainsides. And we're shooting at this dude. We're shooting it all in the grass. We're shooting enemy fighting position. There was a lot going on, right? So I remember being on the back of this Humvee, or using the Humvee as a shield, right? And we're back behind the tire, we being me. Well, it was different at different times because people were moving, but I was behind that tire a good portion of it, right? Me, Buhite, Krupa, and Ingledew, we're all on the side of this truck, and we're banging it out, and I'm fucking laying Scunyon down as soon as I get the opportunity, because I don't want to walk with all this shit anyways. So I'm shooting at, I'm seeing muzzle flashes, and where I'm seeing muzzle flashes, I'm digging in. I'm shooting. And then I remember, I just remember the truck getting hit, the tire getting hit, and I remember the snaps. We had this one guy who did a mod to his M4 to where you could make it shoot automatic, full auto. He did a mod so it would shoot full auto. And he was coming behind his truck, going out in the open, and then running back to our truck. But every time he would do that, he would bring a wave of bullets with him. He would just, whoever we were shooting at, over here, right? Every time he would pop out, he would just lead the bullets straight to us. And I started getting mad, bro, because I'm shooting this way. And I'm like, dude, stop fucking doing that shit. Use the cover, you know? You're just bringing bullets this way. And you know when it's on full auto, you're probably not hitting shit anyway. But anyways, so me, Harbaugh are talking guns. He's on a gun. He's in a, so I'm like, blah. He's like, blah. He got the 50, I got the 249. And the point of this is so that you're talking guns, so that the enemy is always getting like a wall of gunfire. So, blah, doo, 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 blah. So they don't know when to lift their heads up and when to not lift their heads up, because it's always coming for them, right? So we're shooting, and then I remember my gun going clip. So I did my immediate action. I pull the charging handle to the rear, shoot it forward, pull the trigger, nothing happens. Damn, now I got to do remedial action. I've already done immediate, now I got to do remedial. I lift the feed tray cover up. I fucking sweep the feed tray cover of links, because you know the 5.56 links are all caught up in there. Then the feed tray, boom, I sweep that off. Then I lift it up and I look in there and I got like a double feed, like in the star chamber and shit. So I'm like, and the Engle dude's yelling at me. He's like, get that fucking gun up, Forbes. You better get that fucking gun up. And it gets, when a gun goes down, trust me, like it gets quiet. You notice that one gun is no longer shooting. And I remember Engle dude like, get that fucking gun up, get that fucking gun up. And then I'm fucking with it. And then I finally fucking got it. I'm like, yes. And then I remember as I'm doing that, I take a knee. Now I'm behind the tire of the Humvee, right? And I'm looking at the saw. I'm taking the knee and I'm looking at the saw, trying to work with it. And I'm looking down at my legs. I can see my legs through the weapon, right? And I'm just seeing bullets kicking up by my feet. And I had my foot a little bit exposed, but I'm like, nah, player. I'm gonna have to move that to the side, right? And I'm just thinking, like, you can hear the snaps and the whizzes. And you know when they get real close, because it feels like, you ever have a bee like flying behind your head, or a fly, and you're just like, and it gives you like the chills? That is exactly what it feels like when one of the bullets inches from your face. And I just remember, as I was fixing this malfunction, I was thinking about training back in Germany when Sergeant McKeag and Sergeant Boyd, and like changing out nutsacks and fixing malfunctions. A nutsack is what you call the 100-round drum that goes in the bottom of the saw. They call it a nutsack. And doing that, and then I remember thinking, as bullets were passing me, like, damn, I'm glad I did that in training. But I also remember thinking, it's only a matter of time before one of these hits me in the face, and then that's it. But I can't escape it, so I just kind of accepted it. So anyways, I got the gun up, and I remember getting back up on the truck, boom, putting the saw up there, right? I spread my bipod legs, I'm grabbing the pistol grip, and I start shooting. And Engle dude's like right next to me, and he starts screaming, because I guess the weapon's loud as fuck. And he could not hear right for like 3 or 4 days after this. I promise you, he could not hear right. Like, that shit fucked up his hearing. So we're shooting. And then I remember the vehicles pushing forward, and our Humvees were rolling forward. And we're shooting at the time. We didn't know this shit was happening. Like, Boo Height's next to me, he's calling out targets and shit. So we have no idea that these vehicles are even like, what the fuck? What are you doing? We're yelling at the vehicles. Like, yo, we're using you as cover. Vehicle stops. And I remember at this point, I'm behind like the second vehicle. So I get behind the thing. Boo Height's beside me, and he's an M14 gunner, and he was real good at spotting things. He was always had the laser rangefinder out, everything. So this is like what he's been practicing for basically before we went out there, So he's walking me into targets with the saw. So the saw is an area weapon, the M249. So they call it search and traverse. Like, this is traversing a target, and this is searching. So with a saw, you're gonna search and traverse. That's how you cover the most area, and as you walk it in, you get it tighter, right? So he's walking me into all these targets, and I'm seeing people running wheelbarrows back and forth. I guess they were carting ammo to like this building and this tower and this bridge. And there's a bunch of trees where you couldn't really tell what was shadows and what was people. and then we're just shooting it out. And they were in like 5 or 6 enemy fighting positions, right? So I'm just hitting fighting position after fighting position after fighting position after fighting position. It's just like knowing I got more rounds in the truck. Everybody's hammering shit. And yeah, I remember there was a guy behind this wall, like a 4-foot wall or something. He's behind the wall. There's like a couple of them back there, and they keep running to go get more ammo, go get more weapons and shit like this. And I'm shooting it. I'm literally shooting it out with this dude, and Buhite's like walking me in. Like, all right, got a foot off, you know. And then I'm walking it in, doing my like 3-round burst. Like right there, you're on target. And then I'm shooting, and this guy's shooting back, but I wasn't really paying attention at that point where, you know, because I just had them coming past my face and they weren't that close. So it's like almost irrelevant to me at that point, right? Not to try to sound like hard, but that's just the way it was. Because this firefight lasted a while. I don't know. It lasted. And then Blue Eyes walking me in. And every time I'm shooting, by the time the rounds are getting to him, he's taking cover. So I'm like, well, I'll just try to miss this motherfucker. He's like, you got him. Hit. So then you move to the next fighting position. I forgot about this. The same guy that was doing the thing with the automatic weapon, right? Comes this way. He comes to the side. Comes out in front of us. This motherfucker's got an AT-4. He doesn't yell back blast area clear. Now, if you know what an AT-4 is, it shoots an 84mm rocket launcher like that big, man. Like, so he goes boom and he shoots it. So everybody's getting concussed from this shit. Everybody's getting a concuss from this shit. And I'm surprised, well, I don't know if that's worthy of like a purple heart. But anyways, didn't yell back blast area clear, which is a ultimate no-go, but you know, I guess in the heat of the moment, whatever. Like, what the fuck? So more fighting goes on, and eventually I hear Krupa behind me again. Krupa looks like guardian angel, bro. He's like always behind me, like He like, Forbes. I turn around, I'm like, yo. He's like, let's go. We're getting out of here. And then I'm like, I get happy as fuck. I am ecstatic. I'm like, yeah, let's get the fuck out of here. Like, I've had enough of this shit. Alright, that was cool while it lasted. You guys have fun. I'm gonna enjoy living my life. That's what I'm thinking in my head. He's like, nah, man, we're pushing through. And I'm like, what? I remember I stopped. I was like, what? Like that? And I'm like, you know, we're kind of lucky to be alive right now. I don't know if that's such a good idea. I didn't say that, but that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, we're pushing through? He's like, yeah. I'm like, I just convinced myself. Maybe he's wrong. Maybe he's wrong. Maybe he's just telling me that so I get in the truck. I don't know. But as I'm walking to the Humvee to get in the truck, right, I see A&A, A&P, all laid in ditches. They're all laid in ditches. And when I say laying, I mean like laying as if, you know how there's a tornado and they say get in a ditch and like cover yourself. Remember that? That's how these motherfuckers were in the ditch laying. And my first reaction is like straight anger, because I've been getting shot at for God knows how long. And these motherfuckers, all you see is weapons just laid on the side of the road, laid on next to them, but like kind of far away, like, you know, they had no intentions on using them shits, right? And they're all just balled up in this ditch. And I remember seeing, you know, their equivalent of what I got, the 249. I remember seeing that, and I remember seeing that big ass fucking drum and thinking how nice that shit would have been to have that shooting next to me. And I just get angry, dude, and I just kicked that motherfucker right in his fucking head. I kicked him right in his fucking head. And then another one looked at me, and I kicked that bitch too. And then another one looked at me, and I kicked that motherfucker too. Krupa was like, come on, let's go. And then we get in the truck, right? We'll go to the Humvee. I go up to the Humvee, I open the door. Boom. When I say this floor was covered with expended brass from the 50 cal and the links, I mean, it was utterly covered. When I got in there, I opened the door. First thing I said, I was like, damn. Because when I opened the door, all these links and expended brass fell out, right? I'm like, damn, how the fuck am I supposed to sit in there? And then Krupa was like, get in. So I fucking grab all the rounds in the links that I can, and I'm just like, and I just toss them out of the vehicle. We hop in the vehicle, and I shit you not, I'm sitting with my knees like up here in the Humvee, cause like I'm sitting with my knees up there, cause the links and the brass is so fucking high that I'm knee to chest, right? And then we're getting in the truck. And I remember having my knees up here and my weapon. And then we're riding. We're talking about the mission. Ingledu's TC. Drudge is driving. Holloway's on the gun on the 50. And Krupa's on my side, right? And we're talking about the mission. We're talking about what we're going to do when we go in there. We're talking about what just happened. We're talking about how many rounds we got left, how much water we got left. We're talking about birds on station, air, what's happening. We're talking about why we're actually driving, why we actually got in and went to the kill zone was because one of the squads took off. They just took off to the kill zone without anybody else. Without anybody else. They just went. We didn't know this because one of the guys was on the radio, and he was scared. He was panicking, like, we're getting over all kinds of stuff. So nobody could use the radio. By the time we could use the radio, we find out that this guy has gone to like our limit of advance on his own with his little squad. So we got to go and help. I'm like, oh fuck, we got to get there fast. So on the way, we're riding and we're getting shot at the whole time. We're getting shot at. Windshields busted open, headlights busted out, tail lights busted out, side of the trucks getting hit, turrets getting hit. You're just hearing clink, clink. We're all looking out our own window and we're calling out targets. So I was like, 9 o'clock, 200 meters, 2 enemy out in the open. And at the same time, Krupa's over here, he's yelling out targets. Ingledu's over here, he's yelling out targets. So poor Holloway's just in the gun, just moving around like, oh, where do I shoot? We're like, just fucking shoot. Just shoot anywhere. Just shoot. And then he started laying on it, killing it. And then we're riding, and then this is where I'm gonna stop this because what happens next is truly crazy, and I definitely have to give some credit where it's due to my teammates because this part was like utterly ridiculous. So I'm gonna have to stop because don't forget to hit like and subscribe. If you want to hear more of this story, hit like, hit subscribe. You gotta follow my channel, hit that alert bell, ring it, so when I get new videos, when the next part of this video comes up, you'll get it. Because you're going to want to hear this shit. Out. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for being part of the team. Ladies, gentlemen, boys, girls.